Hey everyone, welcome to today's edition of One Single Story. It is Thursday. We are looking at the book of Proverbs this week, and we're in Proverbs chapter 18 with Jay Rivenbark and Chris Rexroad this week. And Proverbs 18 says, "Unfriendly people care only about themselves. They lash out at common sense. Fools have no interest in understanding. They only want to air their opinions. Doing wrong leads to disgrace, and scandalous behavior brings contempt. Wise words are like deep waters. Wisdom flows from the wise like a bubbling brook. It is not right to acquit the guilty or deny justice to the innocent. Fools' words get them into constant quarrels. They are asking for a beating. The mouths of fools are their ruin. They trap themselves with their lips. Rumors are dainty morsels that sink deep into one's heart." Let's just stop there because that's kind of where I want to go with this. The question I want us to start in on today is this: what kind of conversations does wisdom help us to avoid?
Definitely fruitless ones. The ones that people are just trying to get you involved with that have no positive outcome, or you don't even need to be involved. And I don't know. We talked about in another podcast. There's lots of times on the factory floor when I used to work there and stuff that people would try to get you involved in different things, and it was most likely just going to get everybody in trouble or get that person in trouble. And this verse right here, verse 7, the mouths of fools are their ruin. They trap themselves with their lips. A lot of times with people that go and do stuff like that, usually just kind of step back and stay out of it, and they're just going to run themselves in a circle until something happens to them.
Yeah, I would answer the question and categorize the conversations to avoid as foolish ones, ones that have no value. There's nothing to be gained from, and whether it's a conversation on social media, whether it's with individuals, whether it's about issues of the day or whatever, if it's not going to add value to myself or to others, then I don't have any input to the conversation that's going to improve somebody's life. I just don't have the energy for it. And so for me, it's better just to stay out of those things and avoid them.
Yes, I would agree. So what about the first verse? Unfriendly people. Should you avoid conversations with unfriendly people?
I would say if they're just looking to be bitter, I wouldn't waste my time there. But I mean, if unfriendly people are in need and you need to kind of walk through that with them and deal with them in that aspect. But if they're just basically being bitter because they just want to be bitter people, then no.
Yeah, I would say generally the answer would be yes to avoid, but if there's a specific opportunity or time when you may be of value or service to them, then yeah, that would be an exception.
Because they could be unfriendly people because they just haven't experienced kindness around them, or they can just become very pessimistic over time because of circumstances, upbringing, surroundings, and stuff like that. I mean, we can bring them hope. As Christians, we can bring the gospel to them. We can display the gospel through kind acts around them. But some people, unfortunately, just like to be negative.
What's your definition of an unfriendly person?
Well, here it almost, I think the word selfish would fall into that category. I think anybody, including ourselves, can come off as unfriendly at a given moment or time. I tend to think of people who are, that's their nature. I think you use the term bitter. They're critical. They have nothing good to say. That it's not just they're in a bad mood today, but it's a lifestyle they choose to live. And I'm thinking of two examples right now of people that I would put in that category. One, I have known for many years and made numerous attempts to try to establish relationship rapport with, and it just become apparent that that's going nowhere. It's not going to happen, and so just take a step back and be kind and cordial when you're there or in their presence. But as far as trying to make any inroads, it just became apparent that wasn't going to happen. And I'm thinking of a couple of people right now that I would have put in that category. But when I went out of my way to be kind, demonstrate through acts of kindness, at least in the relationship back to me, those people came around and are super friendly toward me, but I see them not display that to other people. And so I think there is a time and a season and opportunity to move past that sometimes, but then there are people that you're not going to be able to.
One of the things, and I believe is a conversation we have to figure out how to avoid, are rumors, gossip. How do we avoid rumors? Because I'll be honest, there are things that I become privy to. Sometimes they are rumors. Sometimes they feel like rumors. Sometimes they are truthful, you know. I really don't want to hear. Sometimes people are giving me the information to get it off of their chest so somebody else has to wear it or deal with it. Other times it's just gossip trying to tear people down. So what do you tell people? How do they avoid rumors and gossip?
Well, one of the big things is we typically know who the people are that spread things or just have a way of just talking about things, just talking about them for the sake of talking about them. You can easily disconnect yourself from people like that on a regular basis. But when people do bring these things to you, you just have to determine whether this is just somebody venting or talking about the possibility of something or what they might have heard. And some of the stuff, depending on the validity of it or of the person, might cause you to have to go and talk to the person that's the subject of this potential rumor and find out if there is something here going on that you might need to address.
I think some simple guidelines to determine whether it is rumor or gossip is to ask some basic questions. If somebody comes to me and they start with this conversation, and I may typically say, wait just a minute. I said, is this firsthand knowledge? Were you there? Did you experience it yourself? If the answer is no, somebody told me and somebody else told them, then to me that rises to the level of gossip and or rumor because you don't have any firsthand knowledge of it. And if it's not a situation that I don't need to be involved in, that is going to become no value, I don't need or want that information. I don't want my perception of somebody tainted by something that's not even factual or foundational. And then there are times when people bring things to you that you do need to know about. And so wisdom and discernment plays a huge role in that, whether it needs to be entertained or not.
The character of the person that's bringing it to you also helps you determine if this is something that is potentially true. Because a lot of people that don't spread rumors, and if they do talk to you about something like I heard this, there might be an issue here. Because of that, the character of that person, you might realize that, okay, this is something that maybe I need to look into or something.
What's the difference between venting and gossip?
Ooh. There can be a
The
great
spelling.
Because I hear some people say, I'm just venting. I need to let off some steam. I need to just get this off my chest.
I think the intention. I think the person's intention. If they're not looking to stir something up with other people or try to have attention out of it, they just need to get it off. They just want to just get it off their chest and then just let it just fall and basically die. That would be venting. But to carry on a conversation to where they're drawing you into it to create, hype or
but how do you get that other person? How do you say it and it just falls flat and nothing else is done with it? Because if you're the person receiving that, you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, I think one of the measures for me would be, if a person comes and they have information, whether it's something they want to tell you, talk about, share, prayer request, whatever, how they choose to wrap it. But part of the presentation is this is what I've experienced. This is what is going on. I'm looking for godly wisdom and counsel so that I'll know how to respond properly in this. To me, is completely different than they just want to come and share this information. I want to drop this here at your feet and then move on. To me, is one way to distinguish whether or not there's not just validity in what they're saying, but the motive behind the reason.
Yeah, so like I'm not a venter. Now, I might let off steam in different ways, but I'm not a venter. Like I don't need, if I have, like, for example, I know people who go home from their workplace and they tell their spouse everything that happened that day. I do not. Do not. If I have a conflict with a staff member, I just don't talk to my wife about it. The number one reason I don't is I don't see any need for her to have to carry it too. That's what. Secondly, there's no way in our environment, because our environment is unusual in the workplace situation. If I do, then the next time she has an interaction with that person, it's going to weigh on her. She's going to think about it. She's going to have to process it. And so I just refuse. And sometimes that creates some gaps. She's got to the place now she understands why, I don't do that, because, and the way she processes things is also different, it may frustrate her more, affect her more, discourage her, whatever, so I just don't. I'm not that person. And I know people who feel like they've got to vent, like they've got to go through, it's almost like a pressure cooker, they've got to, they got to, and when I get around them, I know, like, you're going to get it all.
It's going to spew.
Right. You're going to get it all.
Yeah.
I'm just not made up that way. I'm more of a processor, walk away, separate it, write it, whatever. And, one of the other things he talks about is spouting off before you listen to the facts. It's shameful and foolish. One of the conversations that I think you should be avoiding, that wisdom should help you avoid, is talking about stuff where you don't have all of the facts. Now, sometimes you can be genuinely ignorant, but other times you just come in barreling around and you just don't have enough information to be bullying your way around. If you just shut up and listen, you'd be better off.
I recently had a situation where an individual came to me, and they legitimately shared the information they had because they felt like, one, I needed to know. They wanted to help put me on notice to avoid any future potential ramifications about a situation. And I listened to them because I trust their heart and their motives. You mentioned that earlier. But the information they brought was so limited to me that I said, there's absolutely no way that I'm going to have a conversation or take any action until we explore this more. And I said, by explore it more, I don't mean I'm going to become the sleuth and investigator to go chase this down. Now, if your source of information deems it necessary to provide specifics, and we see that it's a potential problem for the body, then that's a different matter. At some point in time, I have to get in that process. But in that case, I trusted the person's heart and motive for sharing. But at the same time, it was such limited presentation that it just stayed there. And if it changes, we'll deal with it then.
And that bothers people sometimes.
Yes, it does.
It does.
Yeah.
Like, you got to do something. No, I don't.
No,
it's okay sometimes just to put it on the shelf. And
that's exactly.
There are a lot of times people will. My wife would fall into that category. You should do something about it. No, I shouldn't. Like, no,
Yeah.
I'm just going to ignore it. Let it die. I'm not answering it. I'm not going to address it. Like,
there are some situations, kind of like the annoying person in school growing up, that if you just leave them alone, don't give them the attention back,
It'll go away.
It'll go away. Not all things, but some.
Yeah. This chapter has the famous verse, the tongue can bring life or death. Those who love to talk will reap the consequences. The thing I would say about wisdom is that the words, the conversations it gets you in, the words you speak, the conflicts you end up in, can make you or break you, give you life or give you death, improve your life or destroy your life. and having the wisdom to know which words to say and what conversations to be a part of is life-changing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining us today on this edition of One Single Story. I hope you'll be back tomorrow as we finish up the book of Proverbs.